Hey y'all, welcome to the channel. Today we are going to be doing a TBR video, which I'm going to be sharing what I'm going to be reading for the Spring into Christian Fiction Readathon, which is put on by Katie over at Paperbacks and Ponytails. I was really excited when she came up, or when she put forth this idea this year, and I was like, oh, I want to do that. So I'm going to be sharing what I'm going to be reading for her 10 prompts for that readathon, if I can get my words together. So the first prompt in the list is a blue cover. So for a blue cover, I'm going to be reading Positively Penelope by Basham. It comes out in August this year, but I am very happy to say I have a NetGalley arc for it, which I'm super excited for because I read Authentically Izzy, which is kind of like the precursor to this book. I think technically they're both standalones, but Izzy and Penelope are cousins, so I'm going to say that they go together. Anyway, so I loved Authentically Izzy. Like, I gave it 5 stars and more if you can do more than 5 stars. Like, I loved it. So I'm super excited for Positively Penelope. And I was going to wait a while to read it and read it closer to its release date. But then I had this prompt that said blue cover, and I was like, oh, well, look at that, a free excuse to read Positively Penelope. I'm going to do that. So I'll let you know about the blurb. So the blurb reads, Dear reader, my name is Penelope, and while I may not be a real-life princess, I've been told I possess a certain fairy tale heroine quality. I wield optimism as my weapon of choice, don amazing shoes and vintage hats whenever possible, and speak in musical references, all of which perfectly qualifies me to succeed in my new role as a marketing intern at the historic Darling House Theater on the island of Skymar. Only, it seems this internship position is going to be a lot bigger than I thought. The Gray family, who owns the theater, has been stuck in a rut of darkness ever since the loss of their matriarchs. Now all that's left is a dying theater, a reclusive grandfather, 3 siblings, and an adorable 7-year-old girl who desperately needs some pixie dust magic. So that's what this story is about. My plans to save the theater, plans that somehow keep being stolen by a local competitor, and an anonymous online theater troupe. And 2 single brothers who may be vying for this American girl's heart, until they're not. Or maybe they just want me for my ideas too. And a dream job offer that will require me to make a truly heart-wrenching decision. I may not excel at finishing stories, but I promise to see this one through to its happily ever after. Positively, Penelope. I think it sounds good. And it sounds like this is not your typical like back cover ad. I mean, this is in the first person for one thing, but I think that it truly shows you what you're going to get with the character of Penelope and her personality, so that's really cool. The next prompt listed is a book that you keep looking at but never read. So the choice that I made for that one is Weddings, Willows, and Expectations by V. Joy Palmer. So a couple of years ago, I read the first book in that series, and then I went ahead and I bought this one on Kindle, and I never read it. And every time I scroll through my Kindle, I keep seeing this book, and I keep thinking, oh yeah, I bought that. I should really read it later, and then I never read it. So I'm going to take this opportunity to actually read it, since I spent money on it. The description is, 17 years after being orphaned, April Burns and her twin sister Courtney have their own expectations for life. While Courtney continues to shine at everything, April holds fast to the mantra that as long as her potato chip stash remains intact, she'll be fine. But when their beloved grandmother ends up injured and unable to manage her struggling antique store, Courtney makes it their mission to revamp the business and save what's left of their family's legacy. Despite rampant doubts in her abilities, April finds herself trapped under the weight of family loyalty as they transition to a wedding venue decorating service. Soon, she's forced to ask, translation blackmail, their grandmother's renter handyman, Chance McFarland, for help. An arrangement that is made even worse by the fact that Chance is her former, or maybe current, crush. Chance knows a few dozen things about family loyalty, which is why he begrudgingly agrees to April's insane plan. While April claims they're arch enemies, the girl Chance only glimpsed in their teens start to emerge, stealing what remains of his heart. But expectations are a powerful thing. Amidst the glamorous weddings and swaying willows, can these old expectations be revised into something new? So that looks interesting. Honestly, since it's been a few years since I read the first book in the series, I do not remember anything about it. I don't remember if they're like connected, like if the characters know each other in the different books, or if they're just, I don't know. I don't remember anything about the first book, so it'll kind of be like a brand new intro to the author to me again, because I don't remember anything about the first book. The next prompt on the list is a bird on the cover. So when I saw this prompt, nothing came into my head. I could not think of any books that I had seen recently or that I knew of that had birds on the cover. So I literally went to christianbook.com, I think, and just started scrolling through their release options looking for birds on the cover, and I found When I Meet You by Olivia Newport. And this is a contemporary, it looks like, and it's the third book in a series about a mother, words. It's the third book in a series about a father-daughter genealogy team, it looks like. Like they search into people's genealogies. And I found that really interesting because I've read the Avenue of Dreams series by Olivia Newport, and there are 3 books in that series. The first one is The Pursuit of Lucy Banning. But that series is historical fiction, and it's about society families in Chicago, I believe. And and it's romance series. So with that series being historical fiction, romance, and this series being contemporary fiction, father-daughter genealogy team, I was like, wow, that's really different. I'm really excited to learn how Olivia Newport does with this completely different genre. Anyway, so the review of that is, and I think you can probably read the different books in the series kind of as standalones, because from what my research looked like, it looks like it has this father-daughter genealogy team, but it looks like they're kind of taking on a different client or different case in each book. So I'm not sure how much they build upon each other. They probably do a little bit, and I think they do a little bit. But so this is the third series. I mean, the words today, they're hard. The third book in this series. And it says, a trunk abandoned at Denver's Union Station more than a century ago leads Jillian and Nolan, that's the father-daughter team, to untangle the mystery of its contents, including correspondence with the head of Pinkerton's National Detective Agency Denver office. While Nolan digs into the legalities of the findings, Jillian searches for the descendants of a stolen identity who might not be who they think they are on Colorado ranch land. When Drew seems anxious to hear what Jillian has to say, but his great-aunt Min slams the subject closed twice, Jillian is all the more determined to find out what happened to the woman who never claimed her luggage, why Min doesn't want to talk about it, and what will happen for Drew if he gets the answers he seeks. So that looks really interesting and so different from her Avenue of Dreams series. I'm excited. I really am. I want to see it. So I looked at my library for copies of this book, and they had a large print copy, but it's checked out. And it looks like I wouldn't be able to get a hold of it till the end of April, so I'm going to have to go with the audiobook copy from my e-library. So I'm going to be listening to that one on audiobook, which is not my favorite. There are 2 reasons I ever listen to audiobooks. One is if I'm on a long car trip, or 2 is if my library doesn't have a print copy or an ebook copy, like in this case. But they're not really my favorite because I'm really more of a visual and tactile learner, and auditory learning is way down my list. It's definitely one of my weaknesses. And when I listen to audiobooks, my mind has a tendency to wander. Like, I really have to concentrate on what I'm listening to. And I end up spending a lot of time rewinding audiobooks because my mind will start wandering, and then I'll be like, wait, what just happened? I completely missed the last half chapter, and now I'm really confused because I have a lot of trouble paying attention when I'm listening to things. Like, I really have to concentrate. Like, I'm not, like, my mom loves audiobooks. She only listens to audiobooks, and she listens to them while she gardens, and she listens to them while she cleans and all this stuff. I can't do that. I will completely miss everything that happens in that book. Like, I have to sit and concentrate when I'm listening. So they're not my favorite, but I can only get an audiobook of this one in order to read it in April. So that's what we're going to do. The next prompt is reread an old favorite. So for that, I'm going to be rereading A Noble Masquerade by Kristi Hunter. I love that book, and I've reread it before, but it's been a while, and I've seen a lot of things about it on Instagram and YouTube lately. Like, a lot of people that I follow on YouTube or Instagram have been reading it for the first time, and it really just, I was just like, oh yeah, I love that book. So it's put it in my mind again, and so I want to reread it. The description of that one, if you haven't read it, is Lady Miranda Hawthorne acts every inch the lady, but inside she longs to be bold and carefree. Entering her 4th season and approaching spinsterhood in the eyes of society, she pours her innermost feelings out, not in a diary, but in letters to her brother's old school friend, a duke, with no intention of ever sending these private thoughts to the man she's heard stories about but never met. Meanwhile, she also finds herself intrigued by Marlowe, her brother's new valet, and although she may wish to break free of the strictures that bind her, falling in love with a servant is more of a rebellion than she planned. When Marlowe accidentally discovers and mails one of the letters to her unwitting confidant, Miranda is beyond mortified, and even more shocked when the Duke returns her note with one of his own that initiates a courtship by mail. Insecurity about her lack of suitors shifts into confusion as her growing feelings for 2 men, one she's never met but whose words deeply resonate with her heart, and one she has come to depend on but whose behavior is more and more suspicious. When it becomes apparent state secrets are at risk and Marlowe is right in the thick of the conflict, one thing is certain: Miranda's heart is far from all that's at risk for the Hawthorns and those they love. This is actually the first book in the Hawthorne House series. Each of the full-length novels follows a different Hawthorne sibling, with Miranda being the first. But there is a novella that precedes it that is about the Hawthorne's close friends, which is also a great novella. The whole Hawthorne House series is great, as is several other of Kristi Hunter's series. If you want to laugh, Kristi Hunter is the author for you, and this book is a great one, as well as the novella that comes before it. The next prompt in the list is a book that smells nice. So for me, I personally think that, like, the older the book, the better it smells. I love the smell of old books. So I went to my bookshelf and I was like, what are some of the older books that I own? And Lori Wick definitely came up because I have a lot of Lori Wick books. Most of them are actually from my mom, from when she was a young woman. So they've been in our house for a long time. So I chose Every Little Thing About You by Lori Wick, and it smells good. It does. You see those pages? You see how they're like yellow and browned with time? That means it smells good. Yeah. So this, the prompt for this is: the first meeting between Slater Rawlings and Liberty Drake could hardly be called ideal. As acting deputy of Shotgun, Texas, Liberty is simply enforcing the town laws. But Slater, a former Texas Ranger with a restless spirit, is surprised to find himself on the wrong side of the law, and even more shocked to realize it's a she who is arresting him. Yet despite his rocky start in Shotgun, Slater finds himself drawn to the close-knit town, to its strong church family, and especially to the fascinating Deputy Drake. As his heart grows more tender towards Liberty, Slater longs to see her turn in her gun and badge. Can Liberty, realizing her awakening feelings for the rugged cowboy, give up her position when so many townspeople have come to rely on her? As Slater and Liberty struggle to understand their own feelings and find common ground in their beliefs, God's hand gently guides the way in this unpredictable, heartwarming romance. It's a good book. It's the first book in the Yellow Rose trilogy, which follows the three, what's his last name? Rawlings. The three Rawlings brothers. And so it's good. It's an old favorite of mine. It's one of the first, Lori Wick was the first adult romance author that I ever started reading when I was a teenager, and so it's one of my earliest Christian romance books, so it will always hold a special place in my heart. The next book on the list the next prompt is Flowers on the Cover. So I chose The Rose and the Thistle by Laura Frantz. And I chose this one kind of by happenstance because I ordered it on hold from my library a month ago, and I've been waiting in line for it, and it looks like I'm going to get my turn with the book in April. So I'm going to get it in April, and it has a rose on the cover. I mean, it has a rose in the name and flowers on the cover, so I was like, perfect timing. So my words today, they're not coming very well. The back cover says, in 1715, Lady Blythe Headley's father is declared an enemy of the British Crown because of his Jacobite sympathies, forcing her to flee her home in northern England. Secreted to the town of Wedderburn Castle, to the tower of Wedderburn Castle in Scotland, Blythe quietly awaits the crowning of a new king. But in a house with 7 sons and numerous servants, her presence soon becomes known. No sooner has Everard Hume lost his father, Lord Wedderburn, than Lady Headley arrives with her maid in tow. He has his own problems, a volatile brother with dangerous political leanings, an estate to manage, and a very young brother in need of comfort and direction. It would be best for everyone if he could send this misfit heiress on her way as soon as possible. In this whirlwind of intrigue, ambitions, and shifting alliances, Blythe yearns for someone she can trust, but the same forces that draw her and Everard together also threaten to tear them apart. Yeah, so I'm excited for that one. I have heard so much hype around this book. A lot of people on Instagram and YouTube pre-ordered it and have already read it, or they read an arc of it and they just loved it. I have heard nothing but good things about The Rose and the Thistle, so I am very excited to read it. I have read one other book by Laura Frantz, and that was called A Bound Heart, and it was really good. It didn't blow me away, but it was really good, and so I'm excited about this one. The next prompt is a book that has new life. So for that one, I chose The Hidden Run by Olivia Newport, which is the first book in the, it's called the Tree of Life series, but it's the genealogy series that I was talking about a few minutes ago, because considering I chose the third book in the series for another prompt, I was like, I better read the first 2 because I don't want to read them out of order. So I found out that the first book in the series, The Inn at Hidden Creek, it serves as a new life prompt, as the new life prompt, because it says Mary's family has been producing doctors for so many generations that no one remembers why. So when she flunks out of medical school, she runs as far from her parents as she can get. In the small mountain town of Canyon Mines, Colorado, she takes a job at the inn at Hidden Run B&B and waits. It's only a matter of time. What she doesn't count on is genealogist Gillen Parisi Duffy and her father Nolan having her back when it takes everything she has not to bolt again, but to stay and face the truth that only unfolding her family's history will reveal. While Nolan works on keeping Mary calm and in town, Gillian pulls out of her gems of information she doesn't know she has and arranges the puzzle pieces. But none of that changes the fact that Mary's family is closing in to haul her back to her real life. When their arrival inflames tensions and Mary finally does bolt, Nolan and Gillian may be out of time. So yeah, that one fits the new life prompt because, this girl runs away and tries to start a new life. So we will see how that goes. I'm also going to read the second book in the series, which is called In the Cradle Lies, but it doesn't follow, I don't think it falls into one of the prompts for this Spring into Christian Fiction Readathon. So it's not technically a book for the readathon. I'm just going to read it so that I can read them in order since I have the third book as a part of this readathon. So then, the next prompt is a book that gives you a sunshine feeling. So for that, I chose The Happy Life of Isadora Bentley by Courtney Walsh. And I have not read this book yet, so I don't know if the book itself will give me a sunshine feeling, but the cover and the description definitely give me a sunshine feeling, so I'm pretty sure that the book will. I have this as a NetGalley arc as well, so that's exciting. The ad says, Isadora Bentley follows the rules. Isadora Bentley likes things just so. Isadora Bentley believes that happiness is something that flat out doesn't exist in her life and never will. As a university researcher, Isabella keeps to herself as much as possible. She avoids the students she's supposed to befriend and mentor. She stays away from her neighbors and lives her own quiet, organized life in her own quiet, organized apartment. And she will never get involved in a romantic relationship again, especially with another academic. It will just be Isadora and her research forever. But on her 30th birthday, Isadora does something completely out of character. The young woman, who never does anything on a whim, makes an impulse purchase of a magazine featuring a silly article detailing 31 ways to be happy, which includes everything from smiling at strangers to exercising for endorphins to giving in to your chocolate cravings. Isadora decides to create her own secret research project, proving the writer of the ridiculous piece wrong. As Isadora gets deeper into her research and meets a handsome professor along the way, she's stunned to discover that maybe, just maybe, she's proving herself wrong. Perhaps there's actually something to this happiness concept, and possibly there's something to being said for loosening up and letting life take you somewhere happy. So, I mean, just look at that description. It's all about happiness and a happiness challenge. Like, I'm pretty sure it's going to give me a sunshine feeling. Yes. The next prompt is a short book under 250 pages. So for that, I chose Canteen Dreams by Kara Putman. I actually originally chose Canteen Dreams for the flowers on the cover when I was on that part of the list, but then I opened it up and realized that it's less than 250 pages. So I was like, oh, okay, well, we're going to use that for that prompt instead. So the back cover for this book is, in the aftermath of Pearl Harbor, Audrey Stone wants to help in the war effort. But what's a young schoolteacher from Nebraska to do? When her community starts a canteen at the train station, Audrey finds her place. She spends nearly every spare moment there, offering food and kindness to the soldiers passing through. Despite her busyness, Audrey does allow some time to get to know a handsome rancher. Willard Johnson worries about his brother who joined the Navy to get off the ranch and see the world. When Willard's worst fear is confirmed, he feels he must avenge by enlisting himself. But will his budding relationship with Audrey weather the storm of war? Or will one of the many soldiers at the canteen steal her away from him? So there's that. Other than the back cover, I don't know much about this book. I've never read a Kara Putman before. I saw this book being promoted for free for like a weekend on Kindle, and I was like, it's free, it's Christian historical fiction, it's World War II, all those things I like, so I will get it. So I got it. But I've never read a Kara Putman, and I don't know anything about this book other than the back cover ad. And I didn't even know the back cover ad when I got the book. It was just Christian historical fiction, so I got it. Then the final prompt, which should be number 10, if I counted right, is the first book in a series. So a lot of books on this list are already the first book in the series. Canteen Dreams, The Inn at Hit and Run, Every Little Thing About You. All of those are first books in the series. But what I chose was In Her Sights by Karen Whitemeyer. I love Karen Whitemeyer. I don't know if you can see, but all these books right there are Karen Whitemeyer. And what's not on here is in my Kindle library. I either own it in print or in ebook. I think there's only one Karen Whitemeyer book that I don't own, which would be the third book in the Hanger Scoresman series. And that's just because when it was coming out, I didn't have the budget to pre-order it, so I got it from the library. That's the only reason I don't own it. I'm pretty sure I own all of her other books, except for, like, when she has a novella in a collection, like, with other authors, I don't have those. Although I've read them. Like, I've read them all from the library and stuff. I just don't have the actual books. But I own most of her books, is what I'm saying. I really like her. And this one, it's the first book in, I want to call it the Petticoats and Pistols series. And I'm super excited because it focuses around two main characters that were actually, like, young children in her, in other books. So you have Jackson, who was a like preteen in Stealing the Preacher, which is one of the books that I have on ebook. And then you have Tessa, who was a young girl in A Tailor-Made Bride, which, this one. Anyway, so the ad is, stained by his wastrel father's legacy, Jackson Spivey lives on the fringes of society. Townsfolk tolerate him since he keeps the local hotel supplied with fresh game, but mothers coach their daughters to avoid him. After tasting consistent rejection, Jackson spurns all attempts at courtship. The only thing he can count on are his guns and his God. Tessa James has been secretly in love with Jackson for ages, but trying to gain his favor only pushes him farther back. When she learns Annie Oakley is traveling through Texas, Tessa seeks lessons from the famed markswoman. If Jackson's life revolves around guns, taking up shooting might help her engage his interest. Too bad she can't hit the broadside of a barn. When Annie loans Tessa a custom pistol, however, things begin to change. The lore behind the mysterious weapon fosters hope that Tessa might finally hit the target of Jackson's heart. But when danger threatens, she might be forced to use the pistol for something other than finding love. So that's exciting. From what I understand about this series, this is the first book in the series, and it's going to follow this same pistol, like, from different, like, women to women. It's going to be passed down in different women and different timelines. So that should be interesting. And it is a multi-author genre, so each book is going to be a different author. So that should be the entire Spring into Christian Fiction prompt list. I hope I got them all. So yeah, I'm excited to do that in April. It should be fun, and I will let you guys know how it goes. All right, have a good night.